Hi, I'm just been looking through some of the paper headlines, and I've just shared an example on my Twitter page here. Thugs, misguided troublemakers, Marxists. That's what the press have been describing the people. They're an angry mob, apparently. And, you know, they've picked up, Corbyn made a comment about the fact that most of the homes that surround those flats are empty. And some of them only occupied 1 week or 2 weeks a year. And he said, it's ironic that, and then there's so many people homeless. But it's been turned into, blown up out of all proportion. Seize homes of the rich to house Grenfell homeless. Now that's a mechanism, you see, and this is what this press does. It takes any slight little comment or anything from anybody that they call the left, okay, which we need to get rid of this whole left-right wing enemy politics shit, okay, because if the left and right hands aren't serving the body, the whole body, then they are a danger. Those hands belong to a mad person, okay, because only a mad person has its left and right hand fighting against each other for power over who's going to control the body and which parts. Well, the Tories seem to think that, you can just give and give and give to one part of a body and deny and deny and deny to the majority of it. So, it's a madness, isn't it? It is a madness that ultimately will destroy the body. So, for the rest of this video, forget left and right politics. We're talking about human and inhuman, okay? And the Tory party are inhuman. And economic terrorism is what has murdered British people. Thousands of British people. Hundreds and thousands, okay? Economic terrorism turned Grenfell into a candle. And they knew it. They knew what they were doing because these people are educated. So there's no getting away from it. Forgive them, Father Jesus said, for they know not what they do. But these people do know what they do. Because they are sadists. And knowing what I know about London, check out the Hampstead case. Knowing what I know, that every single London authority from the High Court down to the councils are infested with paedo-sadists, organised child sexual abusers who operate in gangs and groups. Okay. And people like myself have been trying to warn the British public about the threat for how many years? And has any of this media given us any support? No, they haven't. They've totally ignored us. They've ignored the paedophiles. They've ignored the children. Because they're a propaganda machine. And that is not what men like my granddad sacrificed their lives for, in order for this country's so-called free press to become a propaganda machine for economic terrorists. So I'm going to share now this, which is from the Squawk Box, who unfortunately also have been suffering really malicious attacks, and obviously because they share the truth. So the Squawk Box had a long traumatic conversation this evening with a businesswoman based near Grenfell Tower, who has friends and employees affected by the terrible fire and has been working to provide support and shelter to them and others. The woman, who wanted her information to be told but asked not to be identified, told this blog about families who survived and those that didn't, about the contribution of police and council staff or the lack of it, and about fears and the real death toll that could be even higher than the 150 to 200 that music stars Lily Allen and Saskia told reporters about. Her own words, unadorned apart from the removal of names and floor numbers, follow. There are 2 children that we know really well who were in the block. One family got out. The father was able to shield their little girl, and thank God she's fairly oblivious to everything that happened. But the other is in hospital critically ill from smoke inhalation. Another went missing and was separated from her mum. We heard from Mum and found her utterly distraught. She spent the day looking for her daughter and finally found her. Their dog and their neighbour's dog are missing. We've got kids looking for the dogs, putting up posters so they've got something to do and don't feel so helpless. The scale of the loss is far bigger than anyone is admitting. One of my employees has 15 friends missing, believed dead. Another has 2 friends missing. One of the little girls that got out with her family, she has 7 friends missing, all from near top of the block. And Mum believes they're the only survivors. At least 2 of her other friends have already been confirmed dead, one just 13 years old and the other 14. My friend has a son in the same class as those girls. She went back to the block to find one little girl who's in the hospital now. She's been collating names of missing people and she's already up to around 200. 200 is the figure everyone is saying locally, but it might be much worse. One family got out from the upper 3rd floor. A neighbour came out of a flat at the same time, but his elderly mum was still in the flat, so he went back in. The dad of that family told me that the whole way down from the floor he only counted 8 others coming down the stairs, and the firemen coming up were telling people to get back into their flats. That's no blame on the firemen, they were just doing what they'd been told to do. There's burnt polystyrene everywhere, a local builder told me, but that it's not from the panels. It's too thick. He said it's insulation. There were burning pieces as big as telephone boxes falling down on people as they came out of the block. Are people angry? On Wednesday they were very silent. Everyone was in shock. Nobody was visibly angry, although a lot of people were frustrated at the absence of the authorities. People were saying they expected things to be more in place for a major incident, given the terror alert, but it was just chaos, and we felt badly let down by the council. Some council came in, but it was obvious they were just there to say they'd been there. They sat around and ate takeaways, then all left promptly at 6 p.m, having done nothing. They had a face mask on the table, and one of the volunteers went to put it on while she went outside, and they took it off her and told her that it was only for staff, but they never did anything to need it. My staff have been brilliant. The community has been brilliant. Some of the police have been fantastic, but others seemed uninterested. We went with one mother to talk to a policewoman about her missing child, and she just shrugged, no empathy at all. This has been a community under siege in a way. We're surrounded by £3.5 million houses. There's a little park to walk dogs. All the time we see people moving out because it's too expensive. The area started to gentrify a couple of years ago. One family I know, they're the only people in their block. The rest are empty or only occupied 1 week a year. The idea of requisitioning them to house people that have no home now is spot on. Theresa May was a disaster. Jeremy Corbyn though, good for him. I'm not a Labour voter, but my friend says he's the most decent, principled politician there is. Some people have said he was exploiting us for a photo opportunity. They couldn't be more wrong. He was going around hugging people who needed it, totally genuine and really connecting with them. Theresa May seemed like she was nervous of angry people. Let them get angry if they need to. That's your job. But there was no anger on Wednesday, just people mucking in. Everybody I know who made it out, they know all their friends have died. They know whole floors where everyone died. There are 2 sets of neighbours that some of my employees knew, who are already confirmed. The media should be saying, we know, approximately, 200 people died. There's simply no question in anyone's mind locally. But if there were 650 people in that block, it's a lot higher than 200. There were nothing like 450 survivors. There's a morgue with 60 bodies, just children. There are around 60 people in the hospitals, and the firemen got 60 out. But some of those might be the same ones that are in hospital. The best case would be 120 people who escaped, unless there are people I don't know about, and I don't think there are. Going back in was the fatal thing. The fire spread so quickly. No fire alarms, just people banging and shouting. One family on one of the higher floors was saved, only because the dad wasn't working the next day, so he sat up late to watch a film. He looked out of the window because he heard fireworks, but it was the insulation behind the panels going up. He believes they were the only family on their floor to make it out. The biggest need right now? Cash. People literally came out with no cash, no cards, no ID, no passport. We've got plenty of physical stuff for such a small number of survivors, but people need cash to get by. The people of the Latimer Road area want their stories to be told. Those of us who can owe it to them to listen. If you would like to donate to the Dispossessed Fund for those affected by the fire, you can do so here, and I'll leave you the link to that. Well, I'll leave you the link to this and then you can click on it. They've already raised over $1 million, and it'd be nice to see that doubled, if not tripled, and for a new homes paid for by we the people, built in the same area, so that and let those people own their homes now. So anyway, 60 children, the bodies of 60 children in the morgue, and the media have not covered that. Now, if these were middle class people, we all know how the media would have been jumping on the issue of the children. But instead, no, they're focusing on what they call an angry mob. Well, the real mob, Rupert Murdoch, evil git that you are, you're a mob. Your media is a mob. You're a gangster with a mob. Okay? The Tory government is a mob. They're gangsters. They've been protecting criminals. They've refused to uphold the law. They've claimed that the bankers are above the law. Really? Well, you know, the moment in a society, the moment that some people are said to be acclaimed above the law, then we're no longer living in a civilised society. We're living in a society ruled by the mob who are above the law. Now, we know David Cameron has been involved in very serious financial crimes which have robbed the British public of pensions and businesses and trust funds. We know that. Gordon Bowden has got the goods on him. And the police are refusing to look at it. The BBC have ignored it. Rupert Murdoch doesn't want to know about it. These people have been preaching austerity for how long? And what does austerity mean? It means unabated luxury and freedom to commit crimes with impunity for the rich, doesn't it? That's what it means. I'm a multimillionaire. I need a £500,000 a year tax break. Screw the poor, yeah. You're going to just have to cut. Turn buildings into a candle. Because, you know, we need to save money. We haven't got enough in our offshore accounts. It's absolutely disgusting. Forgive them, because they know not what they do, Father, Jesus said. But these people, they know what they're doing. They knew. They're professional people, they're educated. They knew they turned that building into a candle, knowing that there was no sprinklers, the fire alarms weren't working, the lifts weren't working, there was only one exit. And how were people going to get out with burning plastic the size of telephone boxes falling down on them? And that's where most of the serious burns came, was from people who left the building. And no mention of the 60 children, the bodies of 60 children in the morgue. And, you know, that is why it is so important that people understand the type of consciousness that is ruling, particularly in central London. It is a problem throughout Britain, but it is absolutely concentrated in central London. It really is full of paedo-sadists. Every single authority, the police, the courts, the councils, you name it, they are either directly involved or complicit in covering up and silencing victims. And also persecuting victims and witnesses. And that is why we've been trying to warn the public of the danger, because such a sadistic consciousness will turn a building into plastic. And that's what makes it even all the more terrible for those like myself who for years and years have been trying to warn the British public about the dangers of allowing that level of sadism to remain at large and in authority is so deadly dangerous. Sadists, the sadistic people that are running central London, we know it. They will have enjoyed watching that tower block burn. The people, the Tory party, who hate the poor, who call us stock, that is what they call us. Ian Duncan Smith admitted it on national TV. They call us stock. So they're not bothered about protecting the stock, are they? If it wasn't for the fact that the majority of people on this planet are either in abject poverty or struggling to get by, then there would be no multi-billionaires, would they? They've stolen our jobs, they've stolen our businesses, they've stolen our rights, and then they all turn round and demand tax cuts. Demand that austerity gets imposed on the people. Austerity forever, said thief, pedo protector David Cameron. And actually murderer, economic terrorist David Cameron, who really needs arresting and being brought to justice. And that is what we need to do. Now, the other thing that has really disgusted me, and I am absolutely livid about it, is that there's all this thing about, oh, how many people were there? Oh, we don't know. Oh, we think 17 are dead, and no focus on the children, and oh, well, it's gone up a bit now, but there's still no actual figures. Sorry. Go away with all. Go away, media, you evil scum, okay? And I know the people, we've been so upset by it, you know, but I'll tell you now, they know exactly how many people were in that building. And they knew it straight away. Because the council have got records, haven't they? They know exactly who is in every single flat. They know the names of those people. Why are the public left? Who was there? We don't know. What's happened to our friends? Every single person in that flat is known and named. Their age, their date of birth, everything about them. The council have it on their list. Why weren't they there taking names of the people, the survivors that day? Okay, because what it explains here, she said that the council came and they did nothing. They just sat around eating takeaways and then left at 6 p.m. having done nothing. Okay, right, so you're dealing with a set of sadists, aren't you? Because they're the councillors, they're working for the councillors. If they're working for London Council, I can tell the people of Grenfell right now, okay, that we have solid evidence that those people, that London is infested with sadists. Okay? If these were real people with even a modicum of compassion and empathy and professionalism, they would have arrived at the scene with a list of all the tenants in that block, and they would have got the people together and they would have started crossing names off the list immediately. And then they would have been able to go to the press, to the fire people, to whoever, the families, and say, well, this person hasn't been accounted for, this person, all these people are in the tower block still. Simple. But no. They did nothing. And they've still done nothing. And so now what the people need to do is to demand that the council immediately releases all the names of all the people that were in that building, that were housed in that building, because they've got the records. They've been claiming, receiving council tax for every single person that lives in those flats. And they have to know for council tax exactly how many people are living in those flats. And then there will be people, visitors, family who perhaps were staying for a couple of days, won't there? Friends who'd stopped overnight somewhere. And once people know the names, then the friends of the friends can say, oh, well, actually, my friend's, he's got a friend in that flat and he's missing now, and we think he was in there. Oh, my daughter went to stay there with her friend. You see, this is what I mean about the total lack of organisation. And you're going to get that. You are going to expect to receive that level of consideration, of humanity. Expect to receive a sadistic level of consciousness from the authorities that are ruling over you. And this has exposed it. It has exposed them for the evil terrorists that they are. And this is a terrorist attack. That's what it is. Economic terrorism. You see, we don't need to twist people's words to make explosive statements, Rupert Murdoch. Because there's no twisting of the words, you see. When we understand what economic terrorism is, we understand that you have been using the word austerity to negate the fact of economic terrorism that has killed, murdered British people knowingly by sadists. The kind of sadists that you protect, Rupert Murdoch, that you feed and profit from. people who abuse children and protect those who abuse children and are complicit. And so as I say, now, the very fact that the council did not turn up with a list of all the tenants that they know are in there, that there's been no mention of the 60 dead children in the morgue, but heavy focus on the militants and the mob. Well, we the people are going to remove this mob from power, and there is going to be, the law's going to be set down in this land, and nobody is going to be above that law. Okay, because like I say, the moment that people are claimed to be above the law, that is the time we are not living in a civilization. We're living under rule of tyrants.